What's going on, guys? Easton Harris here. In this video, I'm going to teach you how to differentiate from major SNR zones and minor SNR zones. Okay, so let's go through the list here. Major SNR zones, number one, they have a higher number of reaction points. Okay, so you're going to see much more interaction at these zones. Number two, major zones are going to have a high level of respect from either side. And number three, you're going to see larger moves come out of these major zones. Okay, much larger than the minor support and resistance zones. Now for minor zones, number one, there's going to be fewer sporadic reactions. So what this means is there's going to be less reactions off of a certain zone, and you're going to see a lot of these areas when we dive into it. There's going to be a ton more minor zones, but each one of these minor zones is going to have fewer reactions on it compared to the major zones. And these reactions are going to be very sporadic. Number two, for minor zones, they hold a low level of respect. Price tends to get a little messy in this area, whip back and forth. They're not as pretty as the major zones. And number three, these minor zones are going to be much smaller fluctuations. These aren't going to be large moves. These are small fluctuations. We're going to take a look at Euro Aussie on the 4 hour, and we're going to differentiate from these two. Okay, so here we are. And right now, I want to focus on this area right in here. Okay, this is what we're going to be looking at. Now, taking a look at this area, let's zoom in here. There are two major zones here at play. There's a resistance and there is a support. Okay, now let's break this down. Now here in this area, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. We have 12 reaction points along this support. Okay, now if you guys remember the rules for differentiating between the two supports, so looking at this support, do we have a high number of reactions or do we have very few sporadic reactions? That is correct. We have a high number of reactions. Now we've got reactions here and a ton of them. How about we go ahead and get this zone drawn? Now I'm going to delete these arrows real quick. Okay, now let's draw this zone. I'm going to go ahead and take this wick here. This is going to be much quicker than earlier, but we're going to take this wick here for the top boundary of our zone. Then we're going to drag it across, and then we're going to use these wicks here because they're basically in the same spot. We're going to use these wicks here for the bottom parameter of our zone. Okay, there are some interactions up here. We can pull this up just a touch, get these in there. So these are all the interactions I would like to see within our support zone. All right, now let's take a look at number two, a high level of respect. All right, now this is a very well put together zone. This is a clear area. Okay, there's not a ton of things going on to where you have to draw the zone so massive to get random interactions accounted for. This zone is very solid, very sleek, very obvious, okay, because price is respecting it so highly. So we can check this off. Okay, now let's look at number three, larger moves. everything is relative. Everything's relative. Do we have decent moves through here? Well, we have to look and compare that to all the moves that are here. There is another zone within this one, and you can see price interacting within these parameters, but there's not massive moves coming off here. You can see these interactions. You have an interaction within this area. You have another interaction within this area. Here, another interaction. You've got miscellaneous interactions throughout here. Now, if we're looking at these two zones, one of them is the cause of a much larger move relative to the other one. Okay, I think it's safe to say that our support down here at the very bottom creates much larger moves. Let's really get in here. This zone down here created this move. This zone here in the middle of this area, this yellow zone, created this move. So of the two, our zone on the bottom has the larger moves all the way throughout. Now let's clear some of this up. This area on the bottom here is our major support. Now let's look at these two zones relative to one another. You have, we counted 11 reactions across this whole major support. Now within this minor one, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and you can count these, okay? So we have 11 reactions off the major one, 5 off the minor one, but look at how it's reacting compared to the major support. This minor support and resistance zone is respected, but it is very messy. The moves are very sporadic, and the size of the moves are much, much smaller. So this yellow zone here is indeed our minor support and resistance zone. But really, guys, it's so easy to differentiate between the two, because you really have to work to find the correct boundaries for these minor support and resistances. These major ones, it's very clear cut and dry. It's much more obvious with major supports. They're much more noticeable. You always want to pay more attention to the major support and resistances. Know that the minor support and resistances are there, but ideally you want to be playing off the major ones. Now I'm going to clear this up a little bit, and we're actually going to remove this minor support and resistance. Now I want to look at this area that was just above it. Within this area here, look at the reactions here. Look at how well this zone is respected. You can see it without even drawing the box because it's so well respected. So what we're going to do is draw our zone, and we'll take a look and see whether it is major or minor support and resistance. All right, so we're going to start from this wick here. We're going to pull it across like so. And for now, go ahead and mark it like this. And what we're going to do is we're going to adjust it just a bit to fit this in there, this wick right here. And I feel really good about that. We want these to be accounted for. Okay, so here is our top boundary, and then here is our lower boundary for this zone. All right, let's take a look at the list. All right, first up, do we have a high number of reactions? Okay, well, let's see. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Look at that. 8, 9. We've got at least 9 interactions across this support and resistance zone. All right. Question number 2. Does this support and resistance zone hold a high level of respect from the market? Does price react to this area and do as you would expect it to do? Let's see. Over here, price came up to our resistance and fell, just as expected. Again, price comes up to the resistance, falls, just as expected. Again, up to the resistance, still holding at the resistance, holding at the resistance, falls as expected. Again, price bounces around, holding at our support, comes back to our resistance, breaks it. The resistance has broken. Okay, that doesn't mean that price has not respected it. Price then falls back down, testing our resistance, now support, and reacts off of it, just as you would expect. Price then comes back down once again, reacts off of it again. Price then breaks through, comes back down to our support. Now it's broken through our level. We're going to come back up. And what's it going to do? It's going to respect it again, back down to support. This level is highly respected by the market. Okay, so we've got high number of reactions. We've got a high level of respect. The moves coming off this zone are much larger relative to the ones coming off the minor zone that we deleted that was in the middle. The size of these moves is within this whole range. So we can coin this even over here when price came back down after breaking through and testing it as support. Look at the size of this candle. This candle was at one point a huge green candle. Price is reacting off of this level. So with that being said, it's safe to say that this area here is also another major. Now remember, our minor zone is in between and it's not near as pretty right through here. So unattractive and just really a mess. All right, guys, I hope this helped you understand the difference between major and minor support and resistance zones. Remember that you want to take a lot of your trades from the major support and resistance zones. Those tend to work out a little bit better. You can definitely trade from the minor ones, yes, but just know that the market respects these major support and resistances far, far better than these minor ones. And oftentimes when there's a minor zone in here that's getting messy, that's not getting respected as a zone should be, oftentimes it is because price is playing off the major ones instead. And here's one final glance at what we learned throughout this video. So again, the rules for major support and resistance zones. Number 1, high number of reactions. Number 2, high level of respect. Number 3, larger moves. Now for the minor support and resistance zones, such as the one in between these two major ones, we have fewer sporadic reactions, low level of respect. You can see that the whole support resistance through here is just very messy, and price whips back and forth repeatedly, playing off of these major zones, completely obliterating this minor zone. And this minor zone also has smaller fluctuations. All the decent sized moves came off of these major support and resistances. All these smaller minute moves were cluttered, and you got to be careful because these minor support and resistances are the ones that will get you. These major ones are the ones that you ideally want to be trading from, just because the market holds a higher level of respect for them. All right, guys, I hope y'all enjoyed this video.